So, sir, I would love to ask you one interesting thing. Sir, people often say, if only I had rich parents, or if only I had this, if only I had that. They always complain about things. Is there any way, or is there any anecdote that would love to share where somebody from not so privileged background break all the barriers and made himself into a different person altogether?
So I'll begin from my journey again. My father was a single earning member in his family, and my mother was a homemaker. So was the case in my maternal family also. My uncle was working, even my aunt was working for that matter. But then we were people of limited means, and we realized that we have to pour ourselves into whatever we are doing, and that is how I got into this frame of teaching initially. If you're asking me about my experiences of my students who came from deprived backgrounds, I won't say all of them came from deprived backgrounds, but yes, they came from backgrounds which were middle class backgrounds or lower middle class backgrounds. So here I'll give three examples. The first one is of my student who one of my students, there were many of them, whom I taught spoken English way back in early 1990s. He came from a Hindi medium background. He used to come to me for communication classes. His name is Sunil Parnami. Today, I think these days he is in Yes Bank. That is what I got to know a year ago when he met me. And he's at a top managerial position. If anyone meets him, interacts with him today, no one can get to know that he comes from a Hindi medium background or he comes from a background where his parents did not know much English or they were an affluent family. So the struggle, the hard work, the effort that he put in, not everyone does that, because when whatever I teach, it is uniformly the same for all. But how some students take it seriously and some just take it as a teaching class, so that is where the difference comes in.
Okay.
So Sunil, I remember, is an example of that because he still is in touch. There are many of them who have scale heights. I remember one is in customs, another one is in navy, but presently I do not know where they are posted because they are
Okay.
not much in touch. So quite a lot of things. Then I'm reminded of one of my students, Lalita Berwa from Government College Dausa, whom I taught when I was in Dausa at the master's level. So she was a girl coming from a typically remote background, parents, typical villagers, farmers, in fact. And she used to all the time keep telling, Sir, I want to become a teacher like you. आपकी तरह मैं टीचर बनना चाहती हूँ. तो मैं बन सकती हूँ क्या? So this doubt that she had, I told her, ललिता, अगर आपने ये सोच लिया कि बन सकते हो तो आप बन जाओगे, provided you put in the desired effort. Now that girl would religiously follow whatever I was telling her, right from note taking to note making. Everything in the classroom, beyond the classroom, was being done by her, and no one else in the class was doing that. Today, she's an assistant professor in one of the government colleges in Rajasthan. That is what she told me a couple of years ago. And even when I came to Central University of Rajasthan, so she was in touch with me for net guidance. Then she was also in touch with me to prepare for the RPSC interview. Once she cleared it, she informed that, sir, it is because of you. I have not a significant role to play in that. It is just a gentle tap, just a kind of gentle push, which enabled her to become an assistant professor. And of course, the determination was there. And the third example is of my one of my scholars who's working with me presently, Kirti Sharma. She comes from Mount Abu, and she also comes from a very small background, very deprived background. I think I at this public platform I would not like to share her family background, but she comes from very humble means. And today she has gone to become one of the uh, Doordarshan specialists in terms of the area in which she is working. She's working in the area of Rajasthani tribals. So she was invited as an expert in Doordarshan. Presently, she is in UK for one of the summer care schools. So that is how she has carved herself, and that also happened because of her dedication, devotion, and a little bit of guidance that she received from me. So these are three examples which I can share, which are prominent from school to college and of course the university.
Sir, these three stories reminds me of my one of my favorite lines from Rashmi Rati that I would love to quote. सच है विपत्ति जब आती है कायर को ही दहलाती है शूरमा नहीं विचलित होते क्षण एक नहीं धीरज खोते जो लाक्षागृह में जलते हैं वही शूरमा निकलते हैं. With this we'll go ahead.